Om Jnana-timirandasya Salakaya Sakshu Militan Yena Tasma Sri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripasindupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavavinyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha. We're reading from Sri Navadwip Dhama Mahatmya and Sri Navadwip Bhavataranga by Srila Bhakti Thakur, and we are at the end bit, the land of sweetness. That is an overview of the glories of Sri Navadwip Dhama, compiled from the lectures of Srila Bhakti Rakak Siddhadev Goswami Maharaj. After his retirement, Srila Bhakti Thakur wanted to go to Vrindavan and pass the rest of his life there, but he repeatedly had a dream in which he was told that he must discover the actually birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Dev. He could not neglect the dream. He again entered into service of Krishna Nagar, and there he consulted the records of the locality. With the help of those records and by his divine inspiration, he discovered the birthplace at the Yoga Pit in Mayapur. Then, with deepened interest, he visited the entire Navadwip Mandal. Excuse me. With reverence to the scriptures, he gave a description of both the ancient and the contemporary holy places in the Dham of Mahaprabhu. He established a committee to ensure that the service of Mahaprabhu's place of advent would continue. Lastly, he handed it over to our Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. Infinite courage of the pioneer. When Srila Bhakti Thakur began the service of the Dham and Mahaprabhu, he had to do many things to attract the public to accept his discovery of the Dham as authentic. At that time, the place was uninhabited. Gradually, a brick building was made, and the worship of the deity of Mahaprabhu was begun. The temple came later. Generally, the Brahmin cooks he required would not stay there for very long, because it was an isolated place and there were violent elements nearby. To ensure that the service continued, he had to undergo many undesirable things. For example, sometimes he had to prepare ganjika, hemp, by his own hand for the cook. Otherwise the cook would have left. At times, when respectable persons came, he had to make arrangements for tobacco. There were many other trials.
Tobacco, you said?
Yeah, otherwise they would not come. The Thakur's foresight. Devotee. Srila Bhakti Thakur also had a great vision for the world. Srila Srila Maharaj. Yes, he saw in his divine eye that Prema Dharma, the religion based on divine love, is so self-evident in character that the intelligent could never avoid embracing such a conception of pure religion of the highest. Love, Prema, the fine intellect cannot but detect the purity in the love of religion in its highest conception. His idea was, with an unbiased mind, the Western thinkers cannot but appreciate the doctrine of divine love as given out by Sri Chaitanya Dev. So I'm sure that in the future many of the Western scholars will come under the flag of Sri Chaitanya Dev. This was his conviction, and he mentioned this in lectures that he delivered throughout Bengal. When Sripad Bhakti Sharangas Goswami Maharaj returned from preaching in England, he brought one Mr. Buchet back with him, a meeting was held at the Bag Bazaar Mat. That meeting was presided over by a gentleman of the name Kiran Dutta, a good scholar and a theosophist. In his talk he said, "When we were students at City College, Bhakti Thakur delivered a lecture there to the effect that in the near future, Western scholars would come and join the Sankirtan under the banner of Mahaprabhu. Now clearly I can bear witness to the fact that his prediction is beginning to come true. I heard the lecture in my young days, and now in my old age I see the evidence. It is going to be true. I'm very glad for that." The Eye of Faith, devotee. In Navadwip, the Bhavataranga, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur seems to be having actual visions of the pastimes of the Lord on the various islands of Navadwip. Yet he writes in such a way that he also seems to be aspiring for those visions. Is he actually having those visions? Srila Srila Maharaj. Yes, of course, his vision is inspired. The Dham has inspired these two perspectives in him. The Dham allows us to see according to the degree of our devotion. A doctor sees a patient according to his capacity. A higher politician can see a higher strategy, and so on. Higher intelligence can see deeper. Such is the case always. A detector can see the depth afforded by its capacity. The X-ray can detect to a certain depth, and the microscope has another dimension of utility. There is revelation according to one's capacity, deserve and have. In an ordinary country, there is a capital. The capital is where the existence and position of the king is more intense than in the general section of the country. Similarly, the Lord is everywhere, but his concentrated existence is found in the Dham, or the holy abode. With fully developed vision, we can feel the special characteristic of the Dham. We will feel his presence everywhere, but with particular intensity in the Dham. With the awakening of our real eye, we should be able to feel and appreciate according to this criterion. There is no question of a Dham for those who have no eye to see. There is also a hierarchy in the Dham. All have a servant attitude, whether birds, beasts, worms or insects. Everything contributes to the reality. Their feeling of heart, their gesture, posture and movement, everything contributes exclusively to the pastimes of the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur aspires for that pure vision of the Dham. Otherwise it may appear quite ordinary to us, like a jungle. The purity of Ganges water is only perceived by those who have proper faith, Shraddha. Otherwise, to others' eyes, it is ordinary water. The same applies to the deity, Sri Murti. One may think that the Murti, the Sri Murti, of Lord Jagannath in Puri appears to be a somewhat awkward figure. His arms seem incomplete, his feet are not visible, and his eyes are enormous. Yet Mahaprabhu stood before him for hours shedding tears, and no one could move him from that place. What did Mahaprabhu see in that figure? And what is he to our eyes? So according to the depth of the vision of our inner eye, we can perceive the Dham, the deity, and the purifying Ganges water. Sradhamai Yam Purusha, Bhagavad Gita 17:3. The nature of a person is based on faith. Of what value is a mirror without an eye? In a looking glass we should find the reflection, but if the eye is absent, what will be the subject seen in the glass? The eye to see, faith is necessary. According to one Shraddha, the specific character of the Dham, as distinct from all other places, will come into view, disclosing its real form. Everything depends on Shraddha, faith. The capital of theism. Devotee. Did Lord Nrsingadev have some connection in Navadwip at Nrsingsapali? Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Yes. All the different representations of theism have been absorbed in Navadwip Dham. In the capital, all provincial authorities have some representation. In Delhi, regions such as Bengal, Madras and Bihar have their representatives. The highest conception of theism is in Navadwip, so naturally representation of all other theistic conceptions is here in some form or another. Shiva, Devi, Jagannath, Nrsingadev and so many others represent themselves here to honor the highest conception of theism. They think it necessary, they feel they must have some representation here. It shows how all the different conceptions of theism are adjusted in full-fledged theism, which is all-inclusive. When Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was staying in Navadwip, he noticed that every day early in the morning a flow of wind would come through his yard towards the Yoga Pit, the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. He began to search most earnestly to detect the reason for this in a prayerful mood. Then one day he found that Nrsingadev was going every day early in the morning from Nrsingsapali to attend Mangal Arati at Mahaprabhu's birthplace. Everything has a conscious personal form, to the degree that there is connection with the conscious personality within things. There is more attraction. A favorable atmosphere. Devotee. Can you tell us more about Dham Tattva? It seems unclear. Tattva means truth. Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Everything is favorable, but we cannot see it. Rather, we see that everything is unfavorable to us. Apparently, our home has become the abode of our enemy. It looks like that to us. Generally, it is expected that in other parts of the country there may be other conditions, but that the Dham must be favorable to the life of a devotee. But here, in Navadwip, on the surface, we find more difficulties for devotees. How are we to harmonize and adjust to this? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, though in these days we find many in the bodies of Brahmanas who oppose the cult of Sri Chaitanya Dev, in the fullest adjustment we should conceive of them as Lila Pustikari, a necessary, indirect help to the Lord's pastimes. There is direct help and indirect help. Indirect help is necessary to enhance the activity of the direct school. In this way, we are to adjust. In Vrindavan also so many demons, Kamsha and his agents will always be there. We must be prepared for that. And it is necessary. Opposition is always necessary in the highest quarter. Like a snake, the movement of divine love is by nature crooked. Lila means pastimes, fundamentally requires opposition. It is necessary to help the positive side from a different direction, The more trouble there is to acquire wealth, the more there is taste for it. The greater the hunger, the greater the taste. So we should not be cowed down by superficial opposition. It is tasteful. We want the highest thing, but without undergoing any sort of trouble, that would be injustice. Our Madan Manohar Prabhu says, Vrindavan is very favorable. Then, when we wander in the street, people do not insult us. Here in Navadwip, if we go to the bazaar, people come to bite us like tigers. If they see tilak or anything of the sort, Vrindavan is free from such trouble. So I think I should live in Vrindavan. We must be attentive to our highest attainment. In Vrindavan, external life may be comfortable, but the internal process is difficult. If we can collect a ticket from here, Navadwip, from Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu, then Vrindavan, the highest plane of the purest character, is within our fist. So the trouble here ultimately pays us in cash for the highest goal. Divine Vision, Devotee. Since I am now in Navadwip, what special service is very important to do while I'm here? Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Acquire the proper angle of vision.
Proper angle of vision.
Yeah. This is most important everywhere. Only we are to acquire the proper angle of vision, a new eye, Divya Dristi, divine vision. Diksha, initiation, means Divya Dristi. To pierce through our prejudiced estimation and have a proper view into the reality of things. That is what is necessary everywhere. Sadhana, spiritual practice, as a whole, means that realization. So through our service, through our sadhana, we get more and more purified, and we will get that realization, the proper angle of vision. Also reading, chanting, and eventually in the future you get your initiation, and that you will be connected with the proper powerhouse. More surrender is there involved, so then more surrender from us is required to the one, the senior devotee, the advanced devotee, the pure devotee who has that connection with that higher realm. We must die to live. That is the whole thing, right? As we are. We have to die as we are. This concocted body, this image of ourselves. So that the soul can be completely uncovered by prejudices and habits, and Kurma says here. So we can follow the life of our soul. And we have to die in the material sense. To have a spiritual life, we have to die as we are present. The whole mental system has to be dissolved. Like we were singing that, Amara Jivana. It is full of nothing but misunderstanding and prejudices gathered from a selfish standpoint. So maybe sometimes we can say, well, that's a bit over the top. But when we really be attentive to ourselves, we see there are many still coverings that we have to adjust, that we have to be honest about, that we need help from above to get rid of these finer, subtle, egoistic tendencies. And to, by initiation, and that will be very good start for purification, to say, oh, okay, my Lord, I'm in. I want this. I want this life. Otherwise, you stay always a bit on the outskirt, and you can still do your own thing. Come to the temple, but initiation means yes. I will give my false ego. I want to give that up. For so many lives have given me so much suffering. And suffering to others. So that's... So many, it's full of nothing but misunderstanding and prejudices gathered from a selfish standpoint. Everything we know has been estimated from a selfish standpoint, but is very meager or extended selfishness. The standpoint of a country or a nation means extended selfishness. I'm not selfish. I stand for the cause of my country. Someone may speak this way, but such a conception is actually extended selfishness. In the infinite, what is the meaning or value of that extension of a country? It has no meaning. It is a political statement, right? We are to acquire nothing less than an infinite standpoint, an angle of vision into the infinite. How do we look at the environment from a universal standpoint? From the standpoint of Krishna's interest, the central interest, the absolute interest, that leads us to the conception of the Absolute as Krishna, the autocrat, who is beauty personified. We are to learn to see everything here from that standpoint. We must give up our so-called real estimation of the environment. It has no value. What is real? Everything here is transient, deceiving. Whatever we draw from outside is deceptive. It may stand for some time and for a particular section, but it is a relative truth. A relative truth in the misconceived world. There is also relative truth from the absolute standpoint, but that is another thing. From the absolute standpoint, there is a relative truth according to a gradation, a hierarchy, but that is different from relative truth based on misconception. Within the misconceived world, everything is misconception, or a part of a misconception, or a misconception of different quality and quantity. Diksha means divya gyan, divine knowledge. Diksha means initiation. And divya gyan means knowledge gathered from the absolute standpoint, not a self-centered, country-centered, nation-centered, humanity-centered, or even whole animation-centered standpoint. We are to learn nothing less than infinite-centered calculation. He is for himself, and everything is for him. What value does anything have in bringing satisfaction to the Lord? We are to learn how to calculate how much something can contribute to Krishna's satisfaction. We are to inquire and know that how much can something supply satisfaction to Krishna? How much can it be used in Krishna's interest? We must convert ourselves into agents that look for Krishna's interest in the environment. We are to search out Krishna's interest, Gauranga's interest, and give up our self-interest of different types found in different layers. That is the main thing. That is Diksha. That is initiation. And that is what is wanted. Krishna must be allowed to sit on the throne of our heart, where the ego is now, and according to him, we will try to look at anything and everything. We stop here for today?
Yeah, as you wish.
Okay. Yeah. Didi, would you please sing Hari Adaya? 60.
Hari Hare Mama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hare Yadaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Krishnavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Gopala Govindaram Shri Madhusudana.
Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudana.
Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohana.
Giridhari Gopinath.
Hare
Sapai Kasi Guru Kuranga Sundar Radhiki Daichu Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Sila Bhakti Nimalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Sila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Sila Bhakti Rakshita Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Sila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Rupa Nuga Gurvaka Ki Jai. Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Sri Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Sabashara Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sabashara Sri Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Kiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Ganga Yamuna Chu Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Sri Navadwip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Purushottama Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat East London Chapter Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat West London Chapter Ki Jai. Samadvaita Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Samadvaita Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai. Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Sachi Didi Ki Jai.
Haya Didi Ki Jai.
You have been reading in this book all